Well, Dr. Alexandria White, you have been on the receiving end of some fangirling from the NACA office. We are so excited to have you join us today, but also you're going to be joining our national program, aka NACA Live, this February in Kansas City in person. You are going to be presenting a couple times, and we're so excited to have you. For those that don't know, Dr. Alexandria White started what has become the place to network, the place to receive support and guidance and fellowship. You started a social media group for Student Affairs MomS that has taken off and is a support group for 7,000 plus people.
Yes, Amber, I am just so excited to even talk with you, to be in this space and to go to NACA. I'm just excited. And yes, I am the founder of SAMS, also known as Student Affairs Mom. It has been a labor of love since 2016. And I just started it because I was the only mother in my department. And I just needed some help balancing work, being a mother, and living on campus. And I said, there's got to be other moms and there's got to be other organizations. And I did some research and I asked some other professionals in higher education, and they were like, no, we don't have anything like that. And I thought of the name, and ever since then, it's been a whirlwind. It has truly been a labor of love for a lot of people, not only myself, but it has helped a lot of mothers. And I am grateful for that.
I would say many of us who have been on the receiving end are grateful for that group, because I myself have been a member for a few years, well before I met you. I have two little ones now, but when I had my daughter, and I'm working full time and trying to learn how to manage being that professional woman that is such an important part of my identity, but also that new, very extremely most important role in my life of being a mom. And so I know that group is a place where people can go and get guidance on parenting, can get guidance on family relationships, work. You know, it's a very much a crowdsourcing place to get ideas. And I did not realize you started it in 2016. And, you know, I just can't imagine higher education working parent without it, because people are posting at all hours of the day looking for solutions.
Yes. So I try to do quarterly analytics. Thanks to Facebook, they're able to help me with that. And our prime posting time, just this last quarter, our prime posting time is 9 or 10 o'clock. And I feel that's the time when a lot of moms, parents, spouses, partners have put the children to bed, and they're allowed to gather themselves and let me see what's on social media and let me ask for some help. And so that is what people are doing. We know that, there's an anonymous feature that we have in the Facebook group, and it has taken up, how can I say, has proved to be very, very helpful for people. People are allowed to post anonymously even through our website, or they can send me a direct message. And I've helped so many people. We have helped so many people. The community has helped so many people. And it's just, I smile and my heart smiles just to think of where it's came from. So yes.
And that's one of the reasons why we've asked you to speak at NACA Live in Kansas City this February, is because we know that our community needs help right now. Our community of higher education practitioners, our peers, our colleagues, our friends, it's a difficult time in higher education, and we need to advocate for the industry, and we also need to learn how to advocate for ourselves. So I know that that's why we wanted to make that invitation, so that you could help equip other folks and learning how to advocate for themselves as a person, and not, as a professional, but as a whole person. And the reason why that I believe that this is just such a critical conversation is that women have received a significant brunt of the job loss and negative career impacts over the pandemic, especially women of color.
Mhm.
Can you share any observations that you have about what you're seeing when it comes to this shift of women in the workforce, women of color in the workforce, and how higher education, whether that be a colleague, a supervisor, how we can support each other and specifically support women of color?
Mhm. So Amber, I think there's so much to unpack. There's layers to this.
Yeah.
I want to go back to a great body of work done by McKinsey and Company. It is the Women in the Workplace report. If you haven't read it, read it. I think supervisors, CEOs, people who work with women, read the report. If you don't do anything but read the highlights.
It's so good.
It's so good.
100% agree with you.
So the Women in the Workplace report, tons and tons of data. 1 in 4 women leaving the workplace. The discussion of the second shift. We know about the second shift. The second shift is usually attributed to women, and that is scheduling the extracurricular activities, ordering groceries or even buying groceries, making sure all the family members have their teeth checked, their eyes checked, doctor's appointments. We know about the second shift. Second shift plus a pandemic, plus homeschooling, plus trying to be a professional. No wonder women are overworked, exhausted, and just burned out. It's across the board. Now, let's add on social features, other intersectionalities.
Yeah.
If you are if you are an LGBTQ plus family, you are a family headed by a woman of color. We know last spring there were a plethora of incidents against Black people that resulted in murders. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, right? And so let's add on that intersectionality as well. And so being a woman of color, being a mother, a single mother, an educator, a community advocate, a politician, all of my intersectionalities, and the founder of this group, there's so much data, informal data that I have just acquired just through that. And so we want to talk about those extra burdens, those extra taxes that many moms, women of color, members of the LGBTQ plus community are dealing with. And how can you help? I think of the racial battle fatigue. I think of just the microaggressions. There was a report that women of color preferred remote work over in person. Why? Because they no longer have to go into the offices and worry about code switching and worry about microaggressions. They do their work via Zoom and log off and log on. So there's data with that. Let's talk about moms. Moms are preferring to work remotely, but we know in higher education that just might not be an option. So what can higher education do? And we've got to have this conversation, Amber, because in my free time, I'm also an executive coach. And I am coaching a lot of people who work in higher education who are looking at other professions.
We're going to lose a lot of great talented people.
We are. There needs to be a whole hashtag Great Resignation Higher Ed. Because universities, colleges, it doesn't matter if you're Christian, private, public, HBCU, HSI, you are feeling the brunt of the Great Resignation. And so when I'm talking to people in HR and I'm talking to people that are trying to save their workforce, one thing that you can do, first thing, you need to be an empathetic leader. Empathy is one of the most successful traits right now that is going on. You need to understand the roles and the responsibilities of these mothers. Number two, flexible working arrangements should be a given. It should be a given. We know nationally we're having the conversation about a 4-day work week, right? So companies and organizations and universities, they've got to catch up. They have got to catch up and understand Monday through Thursday, or however you want to maneuver that. And so in higher education, what does that look like? Does that look like, because we know we have students 24/7, 365 on some universities. It's giving that option. I see some universities that are doing Monday to Thursday, or you can do Tuesday till Friday. Going into the office, and the other day that you are virtual, and that the students, if you're an advisor, I've seen it, the students can meet with you virtually.
Right. You can have that staggered coverage.
That's right.
And I think something that you shared too, that I think is so important about the being an empathetic supervisor and leader, and somebody who's understanding, is taking time to understand all of the identities of your team, and doing it in a supportive, safe manner that creates that environment and supports the culture at which that you're trying to build. Achieving a diverse and equitable and multicultural learning environment is, a priority of higher education. But to do that, we have to help create a space where students can find someone that has a shared identity. And when I think about women, especially women of color, there, you look at the percentages from, the McKinsey study that you referenced and others, such a small percentage. So how does that doesn't reinforce that environment that we are aiming to build? So I 100% agree with you that we need to be thoughtful about all of the identities, whether, and to recognize that identities are those that we can see and don't see, and that's okay. But to support people as a whole person, and to be, to have that flexibility to recognize that there are all these other things that are happening in someone's lives. Thinking about you're an advocate, you're an educator, you're an executive coach, you're a friend, you're a family member. And so that you are being pulled in so many different directions, and our mental capacity can only manage so much.
That's right. That is completely correct. And I think of so many people who are hanging on by a thread, Amber. They are literally hanging on by a thread. I'm getting text messages. I don't know what to do. I mean, go to our SAMS page. The anonymous post yesterday got over 100 comments, and she was just begging that I need a break. I'm on the verge of a mental break. And so we talked about empathy. That's the first thing that leaders, supervisors, colleagues can do. We talked about the flexibility in regards to remote, hybrid, or in person. They're totally different. Those are 3 different types of work schedules. And then the last is pay. We need to take a hard look, especially with inflation, especially with so many overworked student affairs, higher education professionals. You should be doing a pay analysis right now. You should be doing a pay analysis at least during this time. We know that gas prices is up, bread is up, milk is up. And so you want to add on people who have to deal with students, parents, colleagues leading. And then on top of that, I can't even fill my truck up with a full tank of gas because I just can't. And so
there was a recent article about the on-campus, there is a reduction in on-campus childcare coverage, that on-campus childcare for higher ed employees is being reduced through the pandemic. So with inflation, we see that, how many people are sometimes working to pay for childcare.
Yeah.
It's all of that combined, and then sometimes being a caregiver for another family member, an aging parent or somebody else, and that just continues to weigh on the pocketbook, but it weighs on you mentally and emotionally, your well-being.
Yes,
Mhm.
all of that. So we
Yeah.
talked about how we can help. If you have the power, if you have clout in your position to do a pay increase, do it.
Right.
If you have the ability to do an end of the year review and for a great employee, put on there, I think he or she deserves a pay raise. If you have the area of influence to be a more inclusive leader or to advocate for someone to have a flexible work arrangement, do it.
Yeah.
Now is the time.
And there's a speaker and an author that I've referenced throughout my professional career. And one of the things that he continuously reiterates to supervisors and those in leadership roles is that happy employees, as long as you're competitive, you're within reason, but a happy employee that feels supported and trusted, they're going to do good work. They're going to work so hard. And I think that that's why I feel it's so important that we're having this conversation here, but then we're also going to be together and have it in February. Is how do we advocate for ourselves? How do we advocate for the industry? And how do we create conversations that those in leadership roles and those who have influence can help make some of these easy adjustments? They're easy. They're small things that really have a big impact. And so I think we just know that there are certain people that have influence, that have the ability to make these changes. And we can need to lessen the red tape. We love us some good red tape.
Oh,
lessen the red tape.
The bureaucracy, the red tape. Let that go. And if you can do things swift and intentional, it would mean so much to a lot of professionals who are giving their all to communities, campuses, to students, as well as their families. And you talked about how do we continue to have this discussion? I think what is happening in February, I think we hold space.
Yes.
We hold space as much as we can. And it doesn't have to be big rooms or virtual rooms. You can hold space with people in your office. You can hold space with people that you see on campus running around. I just left an event on campus volunteering, giving gifts to our custodial staff. And just that hour, we held space for people who helped clean up and make our campus beautiful, right? And during that time, we checked on people. We made sure that they were okay. We gave gifts. Space doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be a simple text. Amber, how are you doing today? And I need you to do something that does not require anything related to students, staff, or faculty. That is holding space. It doesn't have to be grandiose. We need to hold space even in the tiniest of moments. And so when you say, how do we have those conversations? We do that. Now on a micro level, for the powers that be, the board of trustees, the deans, the higher ups on university campus and colleges, they've got to do the work. They've got to do the work to have conversations and ask, how is my workforce doing? It's incumbent upon them as leaders to once again practice empathy and show empathy in all regards. And so town halls, surveys, sending out surveys, meet and greets, coming down from their offices and asking what is going on with my workforce. So those are some of the things that I think we can do. We can take accountability to hold space between each other, and then we have to hold leadership accountable as well.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I appreciate that. Sometimes we need that reminder of check in with each other, check in with yourself, step away from the desk, walk and stretch your legs, and if you're able to, and to not only check in on yourself, but check in on a friend and a colleague, and see how folks are doing in taking care of themselves, and just a little bit of that holistic health. I am so happy, so thankful that one, you created the SAMS group, but two, that you're going to be coming and joining us in Kansas City this February, because you're going to lead us through some really important conversations. And we're going to talk about how we, continue to advocate for ourselves, retain the talent in higher education, and further the work of student affairs. Because at the end of the day, we know that our passion is to create a great, safe, learning environment for all students. And so how do we get back to being able to do that work, but also be supported and valued in that work? So thank you. And I do agree that, the McKinsey report, and there are some other really good ones. And so we'll look at getting some of those links circulated, but we appreciate everything that you're doing. And I can't wait to have more of this conversation.
I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to a robust conversation and just having a great time and hearing our lived experiences.
Yeah.
I think that is research in itself.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we advocate for ourselves, is hearing the lived experiences of a mom that works at a public university where everyone in her office has COVID right now, right? Hearing the lived experiences of a mom who's lost a partner during COVID, and she still has to get up and go to work. So lived experiences is research. Lived experiences allows us to take little tidbits so that we can advocate for ourselves by learning from others.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Well, I appreciate it. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and NACA can't wait to host you, and we'll see you soon.
So excited. Thank you, Amber, for this opportunity. See you soon.